Hello. Today we're looking at Acts, chapter 17, verses 27 to 44. And this story is about Paul. Paul's travelling to Rome by boat, and it's a really long, dangerous journey. He's travelling with some other prisoners, and he's a prisoner himself, also with some soldiers and centurions from Rome. And they've had a terrible journey. There's been lots of storms and it's been very, very dangerous. Let's read. On the 14th night, they were still being driven across the Adriatic Sea, when about midnight the sailors sensed they were approaching land. They took soundings and found that the water was 120 feet deep. A short time later, they took soundings again and found it was 90 feet deep. Fearing that they would be dashed against the rocks, they dropped 4 anchors from the stern and prayed for daylight. In an attempt to escape from the ship, the sailors let the lifeboat down into the sea, pretending they were going to lower some anchors from the bow. Then Paul said to the centurion and the soldiers, "Unless these men stay with the ship, we cannot be saved." So the soldiers cut the ropes that held the lifeboat and let it fall away. Just before dawn, Paul urged them all to eat. For the last 14 days, he said, you have been in constant suspense and have gone without food. You haven't eaten anything. Now I urge you to take some food. You need it to survive. Not one of you will lose a single hair from his head. After he said this, he took some bread and gave thanks to God in front of them all. Then he broke it and began to eat. They were all encouraged and ate some food themselves. Although there were 276 of us on board, when they had eaten as much as they wanted, they lightened the ship by throwing the grain into the sea. When daylight came, they did not recognize the land, but they saw a bay with a sandy beach where they decided to run the ship aground if they could. Cutting loose the anchors, they left them in the sea and at the same time untied the ropes that held the rudder. Then they hoisted the foresail into the wind and made for the beach. But the ship struck a sandbar and ran aground. The bow stuck fast and would not move, and the stern was broken to pieces by the pounding of the surf. The soldiers planned to kill the prisoners to prevent any of them from swimming away and escaping. But the centurion wanted to spare Paul's life and kept them from carrying out their plan. He ordered those who could swim to jump aboard first and get to land. The rest were to get on planks or on pieces of the ship. In this way, everyone reached land in safety. Wow, what a story. That was quite a journey and a really scary one. You could tell how scary it was because all of those soldiers and prisoners hadn't eaten for 14 days. That was because they were so scared that they were unable to eat. And that's no good, is it? They must have been so weak without food, as well as being so scared and unable to know what to do. But when Paul said, "Not a hair on your head will be harmed," because that is what God had promised. God had promised that everybody would survive. And the story says that they were encouraged by that. And then they all managed to eat, which meant they gained their strength. And by gaining their strength, they would be able to make it back to the shore in the morning. So what this tells me is that we need to trust in God to look after us. When he promises us something, he will deliver on that. But we have to do our own part. We can't just sit back and wait for God to save us. We also have to do some work as well. We have to look after ourselves and we have to trust God. I've made a boat. Do you like it? I don't know if you saw how I made that. You might want to make one yourself and see if it floats. And mine does. So what would it take to sink this boat? I've got some coins here. We're going to see how many coins can fit before my boat sinks. So we need to remember that even though God promises us that not a hair on our head will be harmed, we have to do our part too. Gosh, my boat's doing quite well. And it's still floating. A few more. I'm going to run out of money. There we go. We're sunk.